regular meeting of the Maine Township Board. So at this time, I would ask that a pledge of allegiance be said by all of our members. So we can stand and do that now.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you for all for attending this evening. May I have a roll call?
Certainly. Assessor Crowd?
Here.
Highway Commissioner Bouvet? Here. Clerk Giovanni is here. Supervisor Diamond?
Here.
Trustee Jones?
Here.
Trustee Horvath?
Here.
Trustee Maher?
Here.
Trustee Malik?
Here. All right, thank you very much. We'll turn to our regular agenda now and begin with our action items as listed. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the August 24th, 2021 bill pay review?
Motion to approve the minutes of the August 24th, 2021 bill pay review. Second.
Any discussion? All right, may I have a roll call?
Supervisor Diamond?
Yes.
Trustee Jones?
Abstain.
Trustee Horvath?
Yes.
Trustee Maher?
Yes.
Trustee Malik?
Yes. Sharon, is our computer working there? Should we got it right there? Is that okay? Yes.
I'll check the hit got
Would
it.
you perhaps hit on the laptop, hit just where it says got it, because otherwise I think it's going to... Okay, there we go. Thank you. That's better. All right, moving on to the next item. I have a motion to approve the minutes of the August 24th, 2021 regular board meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the August 24th, 2021 board meeting.
Second.
Any discussion or comments about that? Roll call, please.
Supervisor Diamond?
Yes?
Trustee Jones?
Yes.
Trustee Horvath?
Yes.
Trustee Maher?
Yes.
Trustee Malik?
Yes. All right, thank you, that passes. So we've all had a chance to look at the bills before. May I now have a motion to approve the general assistance expenditures?
I'll make a motion to approve payroll for pay dates of September 3rd, 2021 and September 17th, 2021, and general assistance checks number 53643 through check number 53697 in the amount of $49,824.93.
Second.
Are there any questions or comments on these expenditures? May I have a roll call then?
Supervisor Diamond?
Yes?
Trustee Jones?
Yes.
Trustee Horvath?
Yes.
Trustee Maher?
Yes.
Trustee Malik?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That passes. We now have a motion to approve the road district expenditures.
It is this motion to approve payroll for pay date of September 3rd, 2021 and September 17th, 2021 and road district check 2,231 through check 22075 in the amount of $67,538.33.
Second.
Are there any questions or comments about this motion?
No.
All right, then may I have a roll call?
Supervisor Diamond?
Yes?
Trustee Jones?
Yes.
Trustee Horvath?
Yes.
Trustee Maher?
Yes.
Trustee Malik?
Yes.
Great. May now have a motion to approve the general town fund expenditures.
I'll make a motion to approve the payroll for pay dates of September 3rd, 2021 and September 17th, 2021 and general town fund checks number 58918 through check number 59002 in the amount of $298,605.82.
Second.
You can get it.
Okay. You get that?
Where's Kelly?
Okay. I'll say.
May I ask if anyone has any questions? Hearing none, would you give us a roll call, please?
Supervisor Diamond?
Yes.
Trustee Jones?
Yes.
Trustee Horvath?
Yes.
Trustee Maher?
Yes.
Trustee Malik?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. We're moving right on to public participation. I have a sheet here where individuals may sign in for public participation. I don't have any signatures on it, so I don't know. It appears that we have not had any requests unless someone just came in. So it doesn't appear as though we have any requests. So we'll move on to number 7. This part of our agenda is something we've been doing over the past few months, and that is having one of our department heads report on what their department does. So it's not to do them all at the same time, we're just doing one a month. And so this month, we have Marty Cook of Recovery Connection. And Marty, would you like to step up to the microphone?
Absolutely.
Just to give us, a short rundown of what you do in your department and what, if anything, is happening recently of interest.
Oh, okay. I don't think this is on. Where is it? There we go. Thanks for having me. Yes, I'm Marty Cook. I'm the director of the Maine Township Recovery Connection. It's always a privilege to talk about this program. Addiction hits every part of the United States of America, and we began a program that back in 2015 that really reached out to young adults and added a social part of it that wasn't being addressed. They used to just send people into, say, rehab for 30 days and then they'd come out. Everybody in this kind of country kind of treated it almost like an acute fix. You go in, you get your leg broke, or you get, your leg broke, they put you in a cast, you go out, you heal. That's really not the case. Addiction is a chronic disease of the brain, and it takes a lifetime of commitment to little things to help you stay sober from drugs and alcohol. We had an opioid crisis in this country, and young people were not being kind of taken care of at that time. A few years ago, the board here had the courage to try something really unique in government. They really put an effort into helping young people, and I'm proud to say we've got some great results to kind of offset what's going on in the world. Just real quick, sadly, since COVID, 93,000 people in this country have died from drug overdoses alone. It's not even talking about alcohol, which is still the king. That's what kills more people than anybody. But the opioids have killed 93,000. Most of those are young people. Sadly, some of those were part of our group. We were not immune. But the good news, and again, one other thing, and just for people who aren't really, follow through with addiction and stuff, opioids are what killed people like Prince, Michael Jackson, recently Philip Seymour Hoffman. So this kills talented people from the arts, all walks of life, lawyers, teachers, law enforcement, doctors. So this does affect everybody. So the work we're doing here is really unique, needed, and helpful. So what I want to just talk about, what we do, for those that don't know, is every Friday night, we have a meeting in Niles where young people who are new to recovery meet other people who are in recovery for longer periods of time. The goal is for them to get connected with each other so that on Tuesday night, Thursday night, they go to other meetings and they do some other social events. Along the way, we started doing other social events as well. So on Thursdays, we have partnered with Maryville Academy so the young people could go out and golf. In the fall and winter, we do sober CrossFit, where it's fitness-related stuff. And again, the whole goal is for them to get connected with others, young, sober people who are good examples. Most of their friends, or some of their friends, it's hard if their friends are continuing to drink and drug. We've built a community right now, it exists, of young people who did not know each other a couple years ago, but do know each other now. They live together, they go to recovery meetings together, they do social events together, and they rebuild their lives together. We have many kids who went back to college, or who get jobs, who just kind of are no longer, I had a mother who told me she's able to sleep at night now. So those are some of the wins that we have here. Going forward, for our trustees here, a couple things we're going to be doing differently is every week we send out a newsletter to our We have about 420 people who, at one time or another, have come to our meetings. And we send them a newsletter every week to promote the meeting that we're having that week. We give a bio about who's speaking, and we talk about events. So going forward on Thursdays, we're going to start to, whether you like it or not, subscribe you to this newsletter that kind of tells you what we do. We also do a Facebook post every Friday morning at 11 with a bio of our speaker. And again, it's just to encourage people to come out and join our meeting. And a couple things we have coming up. We have a Fright Fest coming up in October. And again, these are just examples of things that we do throughout the year. We do an event the night before Thanksgiving, which is traditionally a real bad drinking night, drugging night. So we always try to have programming that night so that there's a safe place for people to come. Another thing in the board report going forward, we're going to feature a success story. Since we've been around since 2015, we've developed some success stories. And every month I'm going to feature somebody who has come into my life, or our lives, at not a good spot. And we work together with their families to find and help them get connected with recovery and other people. And now they're thriving. That's really what we do. And that's the nuts and bolts of what we do. So every month, I think this month we're featuring Connor. So every month you're going to see those, because I think we should celebrate the good work that's being done. There's an old saying that the cure for addiction is community. And Maine Township is certainly leading the way on that. So I want to again thank the board and all the staff that helps us doing what we do. Any questions?
Are the meetings, Marty, still at Oasis on Friday nights?
Yes, Friday night, 7:30. Yep.
Okay. Thanks.
I just want to comment. I was privileged to be here when this program was initiated, and I supported it then wholeheartedly, and it just keeps getting better and better. And the stories that we hear about the success and the way these young people's lives have changed, it's really remarkable. And so I want to thank you and all your volunteers.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you for your support over the years. Anything else? All right, guys. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, moving on to our next item under personnel. Daniel, do you have this item?
Okay, Kelly Stanish, who is our HR generalist, currently is working 19 hours a week. I am asking the board to increase that to 29 hours a week. Right now, we have many laws that are changing. The regulations are constantly changing surrounding COVID, as well as new policies in the workplace. And we are more than ever in need of Kelly to be present at Town Hall. Recently, there has been more need for onboarding new employees, which could involve gathering essential new hire paperwork, informing employees about benefit options, and maintaining files. Offboarding or exit management can also be time-consuming, which includes knowledge about COBRA, asset recovery, and legal technicalities. Kelly provides personnel policy and procedure guidance to employees, maintains up-to-date knowledge of federal and state employment law and compliance requirements, coordinates open enrollment changes, responds to human resources-related inquiries, assists with payroll processing and bill pay review, and other miscellaneous duties that arise daily. Kelly has worked hard on creating an efficient, accurate, and organized payroll and human resources office. Even with her continued effort in streamlining, I believe that she is finding it very difficult, and I'm finding it difficult, in having her complete all of her work in her limited hours. So Kelly is here in the audience if the board has any questions, but I am asking if we can increase her hours to 29 hours a week. That would have her come in. We are looking at Monday through Thursday, 9 to 3, and Friday from 9 to 2. I think would be best, and that way she could also be here every day. So I'm asking for board approval for that.
All right. So just to get this on the table, I'm going to ask for a motion to increase Kelly's hours to 29 hours a week. Do I hear such a motion?
I will move to increase Kelly's hours from 19 to 29 hours a week per the request.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Other than the table, does anyone have any questions of Danny Burnham or, for that matter, Kelly?
Is she willing to take it, to do it? I don't think she, it doesn't say she wants it, so that's my only question.
Okay, all right. Any other questions or comments about this measure?
I'd like to make a comment. I know that when I come to Kelly with any kind of problem, she's always available, always handles things efficiently, always has a great smile, and you know, I appreciate her being here and her being hired because she's very knowledgeable and she's a go-to person. She can get the answer for you, what you need, and I've called on her on numerous number of occasions, so I appreciate her being able to fulfill some more hours to help other departments within the township. I think she's much needed. Thank you.
Right, so Kelly does serve the entire township.
Oh my gosh.
Just the board. So if there's any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I would second what Susan said. You know, anytime I've had a question or shot out an email, I always get a response right away, which is greatly appreciated, and you do a great job. So glad you're staying with us and maybe take on some more hours.
Do you see this as a permanent increase, or is this something just temporary that is needed because of COVID, or?
I'm asking for a permanent increase, yep. Yeah, and I appreciate the board, you know, Pete and Susan's comments. She's definitely an asset to the township. She's been here about a year and a half. She's a team player. Unfortunately, I've had to call her home sometimes with some questions, and that's why I'm asking for an increase in hours. I don't want to have to call her on her day off. So I appreciate the comments from the board.
Okay, all right, maybe roll call.
Certainly. Supervisor Diamond?
Yes.
Trustee Jones?
Yes.
Trustee Horvath?
Yes.
Trustee Maher?
Yes.
Trustee Malik?
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, let's go on to our next item, which is under old business. And this is a follow-up discussion on the kitchen remodeling project. Mike, do I see you here? There you are. I think you're going to address this matter. Is that right?
Yes. Good evening, everyone. Last time I was up here, we kind of left off with, I was going to be looking into just getting some more contractors to come out and take a look and to see where we were at again. I've done that. I got some more quotes. The lowest one that I received was $18,500, and that was not even including appliances, which would bring us pretty much close to that $20,000 mark. So at this point, I think my suggestion to the board is to go ahead and do an RFP if we want to continue to go through with this. Some of the contractors that I brought out as well did not pay prevailing wage, which is something that we want to do. So with that said, if the board is in agreement, I'd like to go ahead and, if we want to continue to do it, maybe do an RFP on it then.
So, well, we're not looking, I don't know if we're looking for a motion at this time or just a...
Yeah, just an update.
Just any comments from the board as to whether or not they want to proceed with an RFP and the scope of that RFP?
My comment would be that $18,500 sounds like that. This looks to me like a very small project that could be done a lot more affordably, but obviously we haven't had enough time to get more competitive bids. That would be my...
And that's without the appliances, is that right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was without the appliances.
Right.
To me, that's quite a bit of money. It's a small kitchen, so I mean, a smaller company might be able to do that much more affordably, I think. That's all I know.
Kim, you had something to say?
I'm not sure that this is something we need to do right now. I mean, the kitchen could use some stripping up, but I don't know if that's the kind of investment we want to make at this time. So, I don't know, is there,
It's operable. I mean, it works. It gets the job done.
It's very functional, right?
Yes. The thing with like smaller companies with less workers, a lot of times, that's where you come into the prevailing wage problem, where they're not paying that.
If they have wage or something.
I'm sorry?
If they have wage or
Right.
a small company with just one
Right.
guy, and maybe one subcontractor, there's no wage to worry about.
That is, I mean, if the attorney, I've always just was told that we would have to go ahead.
We don't have the option, we have to pay prevailing wage for this. It would be definitely considered a public work. It's not just maintenance or custodial work, it's new fixtures, so we don't have any leeway. We have to pay prevailing wage.
Thank you.
Again, I wasn't suggesting not to pay prevailing wage, I was just saying that
Oh, I mean, if it's a sole proprietor,
wages are wages.
if it's a sole proprietor, they're not paying wages that are subject to prevailing
Right,
wage.
that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
I agree. If there are wages to be paid, you have to follow the rules.
Yeah.
Well, we can send out an RFP, but I'm not sure, I don't know if I hear a lot of enthusiasm from the board in general about paying this amount of money for redoing the kitchen.
Okay.
I'm just not sure. I mean, we can send one out, but I don't know how the board will feel about it. I suppose it depends on what the proposals come back as.
How often do we use it?
I mean, you're using it more now with the mainstreamers being back down there. They have programs, but then at the same time with COVID going on, I don't think that they're serving food or doing anything of that nature right now, so I don't, even employees-wise, I mean, it's just different times, you know, you don't have a lot of people, I don't think, that are currently using it, though, at the same time, to be honest. So, maybe, I mean, it's up, like I said, it's up to the board, but it's what I have right now as far as notes and everything.
Well, again, we can send, we can request proposals, but again, I just don't know how the board will react. It may well depend on what we get back.
Gotcha, okay.
Anyone else want to comment on that?
I just had, Mike, is there anything that you feel is like a priority to get done?
Everything does work. Stove down there works, refrigerator works as far as appliances, oven, in case employees want to, you know, utilize this stuff. There's a microwave in there, so.
How about the ventilation of the oven? I don't see any ventilation. That could be improved.
Right, like, there are certain things.
What about the oven? There's nothing to exhaust the.
Right.
Cool it off.
So if appliances, I mean, if certain things are working, maybe we want to just do a ventilation or something different. I mean, we can just do something, you know, of that. But again, I'm good with however the board wants to decide which route to go.
I don't know if there have really been ventilation problems or anything, or smoke or anything, or.
I haven't had any complaints from the staff on it. I personally don't use the kitchen or, you know, do anything of that nature. So I can't really say that I've heard, the answer I would give you is no on that.
I mean, is this something we could maybe come back to, you know, at the beginning of next year, or? I mean, right now is also a difficult time, like construction rates are really expensive, and
It's hard for people to
Getting supplies.
right, so I don't want to like scrap the project completely, but I don't know if it's something we can just put off for a couple months and then come back to.
Sure.
Am I hearing a motion to table? Am I hearing a motion to table?
Sure, make a motion to table.
Second.
All right. And we can table it to our next meeting, just do nothing, look at it next meeting, and we can table it again, or decide to require it. So I think we have a motion to table on the table, and you could give us a roll call.
Certainly. Supervisor Diamond?
Yes.
Trustee Jones?
Yes.
Trustee Horvath?
Yes.
Trustee Maher?
Yes.
Trustee Malik?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So under old business, we have two more items. And if the board doesn't matter, I'd just like to switch them around. I think the Munich contract is something we've been talking about, even though perhaps a little bit longer. This is this part of your packet right here. It's all stapled together, the Munich contract. And I've also asked our attorney to look at this contract. Kurt, you had a chance to look this over, haven't you?
Yes, it's fairly straightforward. It's for a 3-year term with an automatic renewal. The township can cancel on 60 days notice. The only thing I note, there's no provision for a refund if we cancel in the middle of the year, but that would carry the cost for publishing on the website isn't that significantly. It was only $450. So those were the only real terms I wanted to call the board's attention. I'll also note I use Municode on a regular basis with lots of my clients. I'm kind of adding things that are easy to navigate.
And I think you're familiar with it too. You use it also, don't you? In connection with work that you've done in the past.
Yeah, it's a fairly good program. I mean, it's very user-friendly. I don't know if, is there any way to write that in to where we could possibly get, you know, if we cancel within 60 days, get a refund of some money?
You could raise that with Munich code and see if that's something that they're open to.
What would be canceled for?
I was just curious if we do decide that. But I think it's a good program.
Okay, all right. And they have informed me that the initial codification amount can be paid over 2 different years too. So we could spread out the payments, we could pay for half of it now and half of it next year. If we wanted to do that, so that's a possibility. So anyway, do I have a motion to approve the new code contract?
What a price though? Do we know what
I
the
can
price
see
is?
it's on the second page, page 2. This is, no, I sent you out one version of it, maybe 3 months ago. And this is a reduction in price, both of the codification price and a reduction in the yearly amount too. Originally it was like $2,000 a year, now they're down to $450. Originally the codification was 9,000 something, and now it's down to 7,000 something. So.
My only comment on this, Karen, was going to be these additional services. Wanted to get Eddie's opinion on all these additional line list items. I think we should try to limit it. Maybe save a little money, just get their basic service, which looks like $7,950.
I'm only recommending the basic service right now. I don't want to check off any of the other things now.
For example, $10,000 per conditional service.
But you would also include the online, like the basic online for $450.
Oh, yeah, everything on page 2, but not the things that are on page...
So there's optional services.
The optional services are on page 3.
Okay.
Does Eddie have an opinion? Do you have an opinion on those optional services? Is that right? We use those?
On the what, I'm sorry?
Additional services, page 5.
Page 3. Do you have any?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have an opinion. I mean, I don't think they're necessary. I think the basic model would work.
Okay. Any other questions, comments?
I have a question about the timeline. You said 10 to 12 months. Is it for 12 months or 10 months? They did not say, they just said 10 to 12 months. So how many months is it? 12 months or 10 months? Which one is it?
Oh, yeah,
But isn't that that's like the length of, like the process that this?
Yes, that is the length of the process. And that's how long it takes us to work with them. So Nader probably and Ed and I think we'll be working with them over that period of time to make sure all of our ordinances are properly transferred into the new codification and look right. So I'm going to probably be calling on you two and maybe others to assist with this process as we go along.
So the answer to the question is the price of the service, it's a yearly price, $7,900.
No, it's just the initial codification.
I see.
That will, they sit down, they work with us. Their timeline is 10 to 12 months, but then after that, it's just 450 a year.
I see, thank you. Thank you for that clarification.
So that's for migrating all of our codes and everything into
Yes,
this.
organizing them, making sure only the latest valid version of each ordinance is on the code, so we don't have the old ones that are still on the webpage.
Great idea.
Okay, may I have a roll call, please?
Supervisor Diamond?
There was no motion, though.
Oh, did I? I'm sorry, thank you.
Yeah,
I thought I asked one, but we
I'll
didn't.
make a motion to vote on the meeting code contract.
Second. All right. Unless there's any other questions, I will ask for.
Try this again.
Yes,
Supervisor Diamond?
yes.
Trustee Jones?
Yes.
Trustee Lorbeck?
Yes.
Trustee Matter?
Yes.
Trustee Malik?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Let's turn to the other matter of old business. I think this will take a little bit longer. I think we'll want to take our time to discuss this. And this is a discussion and vote on a contract for a public relations consultant. Now, David, do you just want to introduce this issue and some of the visitors, guests that we have this evening, and just sort of get this get this rolling.
Okay, so several weeks ago, an RFP was drafted for the public relations and marketing consultant position to promote township events, provide and disseminate information to residents, and increase our electronic and social media presence to all those in the community that we serve. So we did receive 3 proposals in response to our publicized RFP. It was, all 3 were interviewed, and it was requested that a 5-minute presentation be given to the board members. So Supervisor Dodden, did you want to do those introductories, or did you want me to go ahead and do those?
Well, let's take them in alphabetical order, why don't you? And why don't you introduce the first one?
Sure. So first we have Alex Barton from RLB Creative Marketing Group. And Dick Barton, you want to come on up?
Sure.
And I understand that we'll then have a chance to ask some questions after each presentation.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting us here tonight. Can everybody here with a mask on and all that? Okay, good. I'm Richard Barton, and this is my partner and son, Alex. We've been in business since 1995, and we are with RLB Creative. And we appreciate that the new board has recognized the need for a comprehensive and proactive public information program. A strong program is better to inform the residents about your many services, programs, and events. The public really needs to know all the wonderful things that you folks really do here, and we believe that we can help with that goal. We've been in business since '95. We've worked with other townships, other park districts, and governmental agencies, nonprofits, and corporations as well. We started with Maine Township in 2000. Our first project was a supplement to the Journal and Topics newspaper to celebrate the sesquicentennial of the township. It's 150 years. We worked with 4 supervisors, starting with Mark Thompson, Bob Dudich, Carol Teske, and more recently, Laura Morass. During the last 20 years, we've won 4 Township of Illinois recognition awards. 3 of those were for photography and 1 of them for the newsletter. I always remember the newsletter back in the day. It was black and white, it looked like it was run off by the copy machine. But we transitioned that over the years to a full-color newsletter that we've been enjoying for a while. And initially, we were able to help pay for that by getting better printing prices for the township. And also, we started selling advertising in the newsletter, which was legal and proved to be successful. We started a very successful, and I might add profitable, Senior Expo with Marie's and her predecessor, Mary Swenson. We had about, when it was running, about up to 80 exhibitors and as many as 1,700 seniors in attendance for a one-day expo. Most recently, it was in the Golf Mill Shopping Center. We ran the sponsorships and sold the space for that, and we also did the logistics for a great many years. We also started the community garage sale, which raised funds for the Mainstay Adventure Summer Camp and the Emergency Food Pantry. We also, over the years, have helped the township with greater participation in other community events, such as the Taste of Park Ridge. We feel part of the overall programs that we created and managed also included advertising. We helped create the advertising and manage the placements of those ads in a variety of publications. Our work over the last 2 decades, we believe, has increased the awareness of the township in general, increased participation in its programs and events, and even raised a little bit of money. There is more to do, and we feel that we would be a good choice for you to help you achieve some of those goals coming forward. Happy to entertain questions at this time.
Okay, thank you. So I'll open it up for questions now. Is anyone ready with questions that they have? Anyone? Well, I'll start with one. On the submission here, we have a one-page submission on top of a newsletter that you did in the past for our township. And it lists the principal contract as Alex, who's standing next to you there. And you are as the secondary contact. Now, Dick, are you planning on continuing to work?
Yes.
Or are you retiring, or what is your situation?
No, I'll continue to work on this project. It's very dear to my heart. I've worked on it for about 19 years. I feel I know the programs and many of the staff, and we would be a very quick ramp up to get going quickly. And it's something I've always enjoyed. So Alex and I will work on it as we have since 1998, and we've been partners, and we'll continue to be so.
So who is actually an RLB Creative Marketing Group? Is it you? Or?
It's a sub-S corporation that I started about 5 years ago.
Okay, and that's just you, is that right?
It's the two of us. We have, as we've always operated, other contractors that we engage from time to time, writers, logistical people, graphic designers, some of which the township has continued to use that we brought into the situation years ago.
Okay, all right. Well, can I ask Alex a few questions?
Absolutely.
All right. Alex, can you tell us what other current government clients do you have?
At this time, we don't have any current government
Government
clients.
clients? Okay, all right. Can you tell us your quote of $30,000 annual on retainer? What exactly would we get for that $30,000? What specifically are we going to receive for that money?
You would get the representation of an organization that's worked with the township for almost 20 years now, and as well as social media consultation. I know that that's a big part of this, and we have expertise in that area, particularly in a variety of channels such as LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram, and we feel that we could bring that expertise to the table for this project.
A social media consultation, though, is not actually, what is that? That's not actually doing anything with the social media, that's just sort of assessing.
Well, the way that I understand it is that the administrator would be the main person, and we would consult or have the opportunity to handle the operation of the social media, and that would be done through developing an editorial calendar in advance that would be approved, so it wouldn't be flying from the hip communications. It would all be approved in advance by the administrator, and we would go from there.
And that would be part of your fee, or
It is. It's all included in that fee. Yes.
Okay, but you said that you might also, like if you're creating graphics for like social media, you're going to outsource that.
With the graphics we were mostly speaking about was the design of the township newsletter, Maine News, which is there's currently a design.
Yeah, we have something there.
Correct.
Okay, so for like social media, like if you're creating like social media posts, would you be doing that work then?
We would be doing that, and that would be the content for the social media, such as photography and the editorial content.
So how often would you be posting, and what platforms would you be posting on?
At this time, we would recommend limiting the platforms to 3, and that would be LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. And we would work with the administrator and staff in regards to the frequency of those postings. Each channel does require different frequency, but the editorial content and the content which is disseminated can be utilized in cross-platforms as well.
I don't want to.
I might add.
Does anybody else have any questions? I just didn't want to monopolize this. Okay, great.
I might clarify for the folks not used to working with an agency on a retainer. It's somewhat like an attorney in that we estimate a certain number of hours. That's a monthly number of hours that we would work. So, we're not going to be here 10 hours a day, every day, that sort of thing. So there is a cap on that, roughly about 25 hours a month, I would say.
25 hours a month?
Yeah, that's a reduced rate. It's our regular hourly rate is $175 an hour, and that equates to about $100 an hour. And again, that's a flat line. There's going to be times when we're doing a lot more than that, and maybe during Christmas holidays or something, maybe a little less. So it all averages out.
So if we use to, if your firm spends more than 25 hours in a month on our work, are we billed $175 an hour for those additional?
No, we've never done that.
And just a quick question, Dick, so you would still, like if we're having an event or whatever, you would come and take pictures, and, you know, such as National Night Out or whatever that you've done?
Yeah, our general services in the past, and I expect to continue, is writing the content. We write some of the articles for the newsletters. We work with department heads and others to submit content. We edit that. Work with the administrator and the assistant administrator on editing. And then we work with the designer in doing the initial layouts. We make corrections, write the headlines, things like that. And once we show the layout to the administrator, it's pretty near finished. And then we'll tweak it, move things around as necessary. And then make sure those files get to the printer. The printer then works with mail house. And that's the stuff we set up years ago and is still in place today. So the photography, yes, Peter, is still included.
Thank you.
So what strategies do you have to reach? I mean, I think that, you know, it sounds like you do a lot of good, you know, you've done a lot of community outreach and programs in the past, and you sort of, you know how things work, but I guess, what suggestions do you have to try to reach the people that haven't been reached in the past, beyond just sending out the newsletter to people that, you know, already know what the township is and what the township does, because there's, you know, 150,000 people in the township, and a lot of them don't even know they're in a township, so what suggestions do you have for that?
Well, it's been a challenge since day one, and I think it'll continue to be the challenge, is to get people to really understand what townships are and the value they bring to the public. We hear such wonderful things about the assessor's office, their clerk's office, and all that. And our duty would be to help spread those good words and let people know what the services are and what the events are and things of that nature. I think you've all witnessed a little bit of decline in the last few years in the public information program. We would be working extra hard, beginning to ramp that up again. I think when we were rolling 3, 4, 5 years ago and prior to that, we were really rolling along. We always had something in the papers and on patch. We had a lot of things going on. So we want to get up to that speed again. And I've been advocating for a long time to do social media, so I'm really happy to see that that's now on the table, and we look forward to working with that as well.
Any other questions?
I was hoping the gentleman would give us a little more detail on what you used to do with Bob Dutrick and Carol Pateshi that would give you, be more helpful to the township. Like, you list them both as references, so can you give a little more detail on that, gentleman, and what you've done in the past for Maine Township specifically?
Well, acting as the public information officer for the township, we did deal directly with the administrator at the time, as well as the supervisor and the board of trustees. That's why we listed them as the references.
I see.
There was a number of programs that, at the request of the supervisor, we initiated. Bob Dudich came to us and said, I'd like to have a signature senior event. We invented the Senior Expo, which ran for up until a few years ago, like 13, 14 years, something like that.
Okay.
One day I walked into here just picking up my mail. I saw they had restriped the parking lot, and I said to Bob Dudich, you know, we ought to have like a flea market or garage sale or something. We invented the garage sale, and it ran for another 10 years or so. So those are the kinds of initiatives we respond to the requests of the supervisors primarily.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next applicants or proposals come from Marina Galpin and Robert Flynn. Would you gentlemen like to step up and first make some preliminary remarks?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Supervisor Diamond, Township Trustees, and Administrator Berman for inviting us to present this evening. In our best efforts to respect the 5-minute time limit, we're just going to be reading from this written statement, and we look forward to your questions at the end. My name is Marty McAlpin, and along with me I'm joined by Robert Flynn. Together we bring over 15 years of combined experience in public relations for elected officials, private sector marketing, and strong existing relationships in Maine Township. We have a robust plan to transform the way Maine Township communicates with the residents it serves, and we'll show exactly how we plan to do that through our 4 pillars and 6 deliverables laid out in more detail in the formal proposals in tonight's board packet. First is a marketing audit. You know, as professionals, we know that taking on a project of this caliber requires a full and complete analysis of what is working with township communications and what could be improved. As part of this, we'll take a look under the hood, so to speak, and work with township staff and board members to review current templates, print and digital materials, contact lists, and other relevant information in order to collaboratively implement our vision efficiently and seamlessly and coincide with the vision of the board. Next are our press releases. Engagement with traditional media remains critical for successful communication. Traditional media is a trusted source of information and can act as a third-party validator for messaging. We understand how frequency, follow-up, and relationship building with local reporters are important to successful pitches, and we'll do more than just hit send on every press release. With over a decade of combined relationships with members of the region's media market, we'll successfully implement Maine Township's stories and successes at residents' front doorsteps. The next deliverable, and perhaps most important as identified during the interview process, is the social media component. Social media provides a direct link to residents, and it's essential to any successful strategy, especially with government. We view social media as a powerful component in transforming the township narrative, and we understand that the key to successful social media is not quantity, it's quality. Specifically, creating and engaging content. We'll use our unique knowledge of township services and relationships with community partners to enhance and advance the township's social media presence and target that message to the residents who are often unheard and forgotten. And now let me just turn it over to my partner, Robert Flynn.
Thank you, Marty. The next deliverable we're excited to work on is a blog and e-newsletter. So there's a certain audience in the township that will want to deeply engage with their township government. Blog posts can cover township events, tell stories about how the township is benefiting the local community, and provide in-depth coverage of some elements of township government. The e-newsletters will provide links to blog posts, list important upcoming dates and other important information, and proactively reach out to people with an interest in their township. Now, the final deliverable I'd like to touch on is professional video. And right here, I have to go off script for a minute because I have to say I was actually a little moved earlier this evening when Marty Cook gave that presentation about the work you're doing with young adults in recovery and what a problem that is nationwide and right here in Maine Township. And I couldn't help but think, wow, if only more people than who's in this room and the folks watching on YouTube could hear that message. And the truth is, there's something about hearing directly from a person and the medium of video that the written word just can't capture. And if we really want to transform the township narrative and reach a new population, video is an absolutely critical component of an overall strategy. Something like Marty's story could fit into a series of short videos telling the township story and can really help launch that new narrative. This video content can drive traffic on the township website and across social media platforms, including YouTube. Quickly, I saw the India Day celebration video on YouTube that the Maine Township YouTube channel had. I thought it was a very good start. I loved the drone footage. It's very captivating. I think they probably needed to go a step further, have some testimonials, have a little bit more of a human element. And that's something that we want to bring to the table here. There was a sixth element in our proposal that we presented, which was the direct mail newsletter. After our initial meeting with Dana and Vicki, The scope on that is changed a bit. Dana indicated that she would like to remain the primary owner of the newsletter. So we envision making sure our messages are aligned, so what we're talking about on social media matches what's in the physical newsletter. We think the physical newsletter, mainly news, is in a very good place right now. And it could be improved, but Dana's doing a great job of that. So lastly, I'll close by saying we're prepared to carry out this work thanks to our unique experience of marketing, public relations on behalf of elected officials, and local expertise. Our combined experience working for elected officials at the state level helped us develop the skills required to fulfill this role. You'll find specific examples of our work in the work sample section and the case studies sections of our proposal. And I'm going to close with a statement that we felt was important enough to print on an entire page of the proposal, which is this. We believe in a collaborative approach, which means township elected officials and staff will be part of our creative process every step of the way, and we're trusted and compassionate advisors that will speak with you and never at you. At this time, we're happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you. Asif, are you raising your hand or no? I'm sorry. If you move a little bit, I'll call you. Anyone else have any questions to start with?
So what in your opinion is one of the biggest challenges to reach unincorporated area residents?
I think just generally the biggest challenge in reaching that extremely important audience is the way in which they get their news and information. They're not getting it from the journal and topics. They're not getting it from the mainly news in most cases. Who they're getting it from is YouTube, the social media components. We just saw in the last census the Indian population in Maine Township has increased by 5,000 residents. It's a huge increase anywhere across the board, but in the township of the size of Maine, it's an incredibly important thing to recognize and make sure that we're targeting communications to that community. And I think the best way we do that is we take what we know works with township government and the communication strategy put forward by Dana and the previous board members, and digitize it and make it more accessible to all township residents.
And one thing I'd like to add to that is we know from the census data that, Marty, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's something in the neighborhood of 20% of people, English is not their primary language. And why social media is such a powerful new frontier is we can translate messages and put that in front of people in their native language for a very cost-effective way. I think that's a powerful new frontier that we can utilize to reach that population.
I have a few questions on you. I'm looking at your packet, and where it says social media, you mentioned that you'll be using Facebook. Are there other platforms that you're going to be using? And if so, which one? And under your cost structure, for instance, let's look at the silver one. It said you would be putting up to 6 posts a month. Well, is that 6 posts on one platform or divided up in 4 platforms? How's this going to work?
Yeah, thank you for asking me that. I'm so happy that I had the chance to clarify this. So to answer the second part of your question first, we envisioned most posts going across multiple mediums, and we would only count that as one. So if it's going on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, that's just going to count as one. If they're going to be substantially similar, we find. This is our strategy on the social media and why we quoted you the numbers that we did. The key to success on Facebook and growing a reach on Facebook is creating creating engaging content. Creating too much content that doesn't create engagement can actually work against you because the Facebook algorithm will punish you if people see your post and don't interact with it. So it's very important that the posts that are being placed on social media actually grab people's attention, gets reactions out of them, and they take a moment to either click on an image or really engage with the post. So the 6 posts per month that you noted would be part of our narrative of focusing or creating a new narrative for Maine Township government. But that's not limiting us to more posts that the township staff would do about more routine things. So let me give you an example. Something like the video concept that I described earlier. That would involve professional video. That would count against our 6 posts per month. That would be part of educating the public about what Maine Township does. But if there's just a routine message about a recurring event that should be posted on Facebook, township staff can do that. They can work off of a template that we create, or they can do it themselves, and they can just post that. And it's more cost effective to have township staff do something like that than have a firm do creative assets and spend our time on something like that.
Okay, and so you mentioned a number of platforms, and I presume that means you do in fact use all those platforms.
We would discuss benefits to using various platforms, yes. Do you have, I mean, we can commit to any number of platforms.
No, I'm not asking for certain ones right now, I'm just trying to get your intentions or your proposal.
Yeah, we think YouTube, for instance, is a key to success today. But that requires, obviously, professional video to be put on YouTube. So it just kind of depends.
So you talked about the video, and I understand that it's for the purpose of putting it on YouTube or maybe other social platforms. Is there any other purpose for that video other than putting it on social media?
Yes, to also drive more engagement on the website itself. So let's say somebody is going to the website to look up a specific event that they heard about. But if there's some engaging video content that greets them as soon as they reach the home page, all of a sudden, oh hey, what's this? Oh, I didn't know the township did this. I didn't know the township was about this. They spend a little more time exploring the website when they're already there, and then they learn more about the township, and it can really change their opinion of what township government is.
All right, so you're talking a lot about using social media. What if members of the public decide to put nasty comments on our website, maybe about some of our staff members that we think are near the line of defamatory, that we think are really unpleasant and untrue? What, if anything, would you do in response to that?
Well, if somebody is making, threatening posts that are derogatory and inflammatory and abusive, and serially making posts, it is absolutely above board to monitor your page as a professional organization. We definitely are going to be adept at dealing with that sort of issue, given our experience working for elected officials and sort of the incoming that they take on a regular basis. That being said, the issue is being litigated by the Supreme Court in terms of the amount that governmental entities can police within their social media spaces. And we'll be very mindful of that issue. But certainly if somebody is being derogatory or inflammatory, we have no problem. They're using functionality capability on, for instance, Facebook, where if somebody is using profane language or saying something that's abusive, you can simply just allow Facebook to hide that comment so no one else sees it, but actually only the person that posted it saw it. So if that's something that would be a policy of the board, that's something that we have knowledge of that we can police in that way.
All right, I want to ask a question about the e-newsletter that you mentioned. We have emails for certain, probably small segments of our population, such as the mainstreamer members and some mainstay and Recovery Connection. We have a limited number of emails for our residents. Do you propose to collect emails, and how would you do that?
I think that'll be part of our marketing audit, where, as I said, we'll kind of take a look at what we need to complete these deliverables and put this plan into action. I think that is a primary focus of any agency looking to get their message out and tell stories. And to the extent that that needs to be focused on within the marketing audit as identified, we'll focus on that. And I don't know, Robert, if you have something else to add on
I think if you have existing emails that are stored, we would definitely want to include those on the e-newsletter list to expand our reach. We may want to just check to be extra safe to see how those email addresses were obtained and to make sure that they were giving us their consent to receive communications from the township.
Yes, Kim.
So the e-newsletter and the direct mail will be done by Dana. Are they going to be the same? Or are they just going to complement each other? What?
So, no, actually, the e-newsletter would be done by us and would be separate.
Yeah, but would they give the same information or?
No, we envision them actually giving different information. So for instance, in our kind of 360-degree approach here, we want to create things like blog posts on the website to drive traffic. So the e-newsletter might say, hey, this month's blog post is about this topic. Click here to learn more. Here's an engaging video. Here's some photos of what's going on in the township. Some of it will be repetitive, yes. We'll probably repeat something like the highway commissioner's corner in the e-newsletter, but we mostly envision it being original content, and we envision the e-newsletter going out at a greater frequency than the physical newsletter, which is quarterly, because the cost is just a lot lower.
Right, okay, so it won't be just taking the mail newsletter and posting it on social media, okay.
Well, and I'll just add, we envision when we look at Maine Township, I think the one thing that we really want to put into action is centering residents back into the center of the discussion here. Because for too long, the Maine Township is looked at as just a form of government, not necessarily government service. So for instance, the work that Assessor Cry is doing with property tax issues should be highlighted. The work that Eddie is doing with the highway department should be highlighted more. And we want to tell real stories and project engaging content out there to let people know this is what's happening in your township, connect with those people who didn't know about township.
Go ahead.
Oh, you actually answered most of the questions I had written down, but just a couple of things. Do you have like a set number of hours a month that you see working, or is it more about completing these things on your list?
I think our proposal included a tiered approach because we wanted to give an idea of what it's going to take to enact that, these deliverables with the time that would be accessible to us. And we tiered that because we know that the contract is negotiable, and our whole emphasis of our proposal is we are collaborative. We want to be collaborative and negotiable on that issue. So us as a team, we're not an established firm, but we have a lot of passion behind this issue, and that's why we put forward our proposal today and are willing to work along managing these deliverables and what's asked for as far as the contract amount.
Okay, yeah, and that sort of touches on my next question, which was, in looking at, again, like the silver tier, you had previously put in, the direct mail newsletter and, creating content and designing that 4 times a year, which is a lot of work. And so if that is not going to be in this, then would the rate
Yes.
be different? Okay, so the prices that are on here aren't necessarily what it would be, so it would be lower.
And if I may, because the silver level contains the professional video, if we're not doing that direct mail newsletter as much as we thought we were when we submitted that, maybe that's a negotiation we can make around price, yeah.
I guess I'm wondering what your charge would be then, because, we're trying to make comparisons. I don't want to put you on the spot, though, but I guess
Well, we put forward this tiered approach with the understanding in the RFP, which was in one of the bullet points, that it was negotiable. So we really considered this a starting point for negotiation should we be selected. Now, with that said, if you select us with an accompanying dollar amount, we're going to collaborate with you and make sure that you get a very robust plan. And we're going to talk about what that is. So the main reason we put those numbers in, this kind of speaks to what Dick was saying in the last presentation, was it's more of an accountability measure. So if we're 7 months into this 14-month contract and we've only made 12 social media posts and we're supposed to be making 4 per month, you can say, you know, what's going on here. On the other hand, if we're being asked repeatedly to make social media posts every day, we can come to you and say, this isn't exactly what we agreed to at the beginning. So I wouldn't consider these contractual obligations. They're kind of starting off points that if you think our firm is the best to represent you, we can then get into the nitty-gritty about what that looks like based on the amount that you appropriate us.
Yeah, and I'll just add really quickly, when working in government, it's not always just black and white, where you can just contract and say, hey, you're going to provide these services, especially when in regard to communications. We bring crisis communication management and strategy, professional strategy towards engaging targeted audiences, and we can monetize that and work around what is specifically outlined by the board as an effective target to reach at a given moment.
Did you have a question?
Yeah, I had a quick question on video. Item 6, have you guys thought at all about the Zoom applications? I'm in court probably 3 or 4 or 5 Zoom conferences every single week, every single day, every single week for a year and a half. To me, Zoom is going to completely take over the Cook County court system. In the days of going to court, you know, regularly, it's just have ended potentially. I'm wondering if that can be incorporated into an easy way for people to see a Zoom. It couldn't possibly be easier to use the Zoom application. I don't know anything about computers, so I'm completely clueless on them, and it could not possibly be easier. Criminal defendants can do it, elderly people can do it, lawyers who are old men like me can do it, anybody can do it. It's like easy, and it's free. And it's just like, I'm wondering if we could incorporate that as a way to, especially for citizens, elderly citizens in Maine Township, what could be easier to go on the Zoom application. It's a video, like you said, the video is one of the best ways to do it.
Yeah, it's an excellent idea, and some platforms, like YouTube and Facebook, kind of have their own kind of versions of that. The one thing we would want to make sure is that there is some sort of protection when you allow public access to Zoom. You've probably heard many stories at the start of the pandemic, especially people crashing these Zooms with offensive or pornographic content. So we wouldn't want to put safeguards around it, but I do think it's a great way to create engagement.
That's surprising here. Thank you for letting me know that. The court system is one. I don't think they've had a single incident with a guy with a cat.
Some viral videos.
Okay, I have just a couple more questions, President Crowe, you might have. Mr. Flynn, the position you are in right now, it says you draft correspondence on behalf of clients to elected officials. Are you doing lobbying work? Is that what you're doing right now?
Yeah, it's essentially lobbying and public relations, yes.
All right. So I know both of you have worked as chiefs of staff for different public officials in the past. Have you done any work on behalf of government bodies like ours?
Well, I can say that my entire involvement in state government was very much for the institution of the Illinois State Senate more than simply just the chief of staff for an elected official. I am very adept at knowing and understanding the structures around government from my work, both on the political side of things, but also now in my work in the private sector, working alongside governmental entities in the work that I do. I consider myself pretty adept at that structure of what's needed, and I never have thought it as my job working for the state senate as a job working for an elected official, more so working alongside as part of a larger institution.
So I get the impression your partnership is a fairly recent one. Would we be your only clients? so far?
Together, yes. And the reason we came together on this proposal is we're really offering the bespoke position for Maine Township. Marty brings a unbelievable depth of existing knowledge to Maine Township and to the stakeholders here. I bring kind of a unique position of my private sector marketing experience over these past few years, and that drives a lot of what was in the proposal that you saw today. I also have some technical skills like photography. I designed this proposal myself using Adobe InDesign that would be relevant and useful in this proposal that Marty doesn't personally have that experience in. And we have worked together for years, yeah, a long time together in a more informal capacity.
All right, Asa?
Yeah, I have a question about the direct mail newsletter. So, my understanding, maybe this will be in English, right? So, do you able to send to the especially in a corporate area, you know, in like a different language, like a Spanish, Polish, Hindi, Urdu? And especially, you know, about the general assistant program, you know, which one I think in corporate area is not familiar. Do you able to do that?
Yes, so as I said earlier, I think the most cost-effective way for the township to reach its populations is going to be digital forward communications. However, we'll discuss with township about how big of a mailer they want to do and how specific these mailing lists want to get. And it really just depends on the budget. There's nothing limiting us from doing it, certainly.
All right, unless there's any other questions, Susan?
I deal with a lot of people who don't even have a computer in my field. I'm just wondering, what is the necessity of like having Instagram? Isn't it at the fact of, instead of like just stick it to something, let's go a little bit slower, let's just do Facebook, the township, why do we, next we'll be doing TikTok, hopefully not. But I'm just thinking, is it, I don't know if I'm going off track here, but I'm just thinking like a little bit of a slower pace. Are you maybe agreeable to something like that too, to see when we initiate something like this, to just start off a little bit like slower? I'm seeing that, you know, we have a blog newsletter that you're going to contribute to 4 times. It's going to come out once a month, and then we have our mailing newsletter. I mean, can we just take this at a little bit slower pace? Is that a possibility, or do we have to?
I'm just curious, what is the reason for?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Kelly.
What is the reason for taking it slow, per se?
I mean, instead of, you know, just jumping in.
Well, I mean, I would think that whoever we hire was, like, I think several of the proposals talked about doing an audit, so I think that, assessing that information first, but I mean, for those of you who don't know, my background is in graphic design and marketing and communications, so this is something that's very, you know, important to me, and having run several businesses, a lot of times when you're going to put a post out there, whether it's creating a graphic for one of the mainstreamers events, you know, you'll put that on Facebook and Instagram, you know, at the same time. And so it's sort of, there's different crowds that go to different places. And I think that the goal, when I first sort of initiated bringing this, you know, discussion up of hiring somebody, a lot of it was because we need to reach those people that don't know about us and don't know. And a lot of those people might be on Instagram. A lot of those people might be on Facebook. And I think that, you know, it only takes a second to kind of create a graphic. And there's so many like platforms now that you post you know, pull up your graphic and you can post it simultaneously to those, you know, platforms all at once. And so, you know, all I think that it's doing is hopefully expanding our reach sooner, which I you know, don't see that as a negative. So, I mean, I can understand if it feels like overwhelming to kind of do all of this at once, but I think that hopefully whoever we select, you know, we'll do an audit, we'll kind of assess and see where we're going from there, and then, you know, I don't think everything's going to be dumped on us all at once, and, you know, I don't think, you know, staff is going to be expected to do a ton of stuff. But I'm excited to get started, and I'm excited to have this stuff out there. And, and to get going with whoever we choose. So that's just my opinion, so.
Okay, all right. I think that's it. Were you about to say something? No? Okay, all right, fine. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please have a seat. All right, and we have one more proposal, and that is from Wisdom Grant. And thank you for joining us this evening. We have your packet, and if you would like to introduce yourself and your company, we'd like to hear more about you.
And Supervisor, thank you, and board members, thank you, and Dana, thank you for your insights throughout the process. I won't go into a long bio. I can tell you I've been at this for 40 years. I've been a marketing director at a corporate level. I was in academia for 12 years, and I started Wisdom Bridge Marketing in 2004. Oh, I skipped my name, Jack McCall. And Mark Desjardins, who is a resident of Park Ridge in this township, is the graphic designer that I work with. On the screen, I brought some samples with tonight. But before I begin this, I wanted to tell you a story. I heard a lot of great thought here tonight. In 2016, I met with the late Patty Brennan, who was the supervisor of New Trier Township. And at that time, there were a lot of articles in the paper about closing townships. And Patty was concerned, and the township had done a stay-off-the-radar approach to communications. And she said, Jack, we have a problem. And if we hire you to do this, it was a similar format, speaking with the board, we need to go big. We need to do this big. We need to tell the story. We need to share outcome stories. We need to start this from the ground up. We need grassroots marketing. We need to do a newsletter. We need to tell people what we do with the taxpayers' money. And in the last 6.5, 7 years, we've done projects not only for New Trier, but for Niles, the city of Markham, and we're currently working for the city of North Chicago, who is going through an economic development program. We've begun work on their newsletter in 2020. It's a new relationship. But in New Trier, we took a very grassroots approach to things like LIHEAP, program that keeps the heat on for people in the winter. We set up food drives for food pantries. We have done flu shot clinics. And to your point, Counselor, about Zoom, yes, I've learned more about Zoom in the last year than I ever wanted to, pulling together the New Trier Township board meetings online and streaming them on Facebook. What I see is a similar opportunity here in a wonderful township with great many services. And to the other gentleman's point about Marty's presentation, those are the kind of human stories that we've been sharing in the Courier newsletter in New Trier for the last 5.5 years. We feature a grantee agency. We started a podcast a couple years back. There's 43 episodes of the podcast. That podcast becomes the fodder for articles and for social media posts. So we're leveraging the material and we're creating stories. The articles on dementia, and we did a thing on Mental Health Month in May. These are all real-time things that we're doing on Twitter and on Facebook, on the website, and I talked with Dana about Instagram. We have experience in Zoom and podcasting. I know she's doing a fine job on the newsletter. If the day comes, I told her when she gets bored with it, we would be happy to take that over. It's a lot of work. Every 2 weeks, we create the New Trier Township Dispatch. I ghostwrite messages for the supervisor. Both supervisors that I've worked for, make their changes, and we publish that on Constant Contact. Most townships face the problem of not having a lot of budget to spend. The growth is organic, and slow, but what I see is potential here in Maine Township to grow your social media platform, to work with elected officials, to work with your community partners, your grantees. Each of you on the board has a social network, and that's pretty much how we've grown it. Boosting posts on Facebook and Twitter have helped. Buying lists to try to get new members to the newsletters and such has been moderately successful and expensive. But what I can tell you about our proposal is that Mark and I work closely. My laptop is open 7 days a week. It's on my couch with me at night. I'm working in a cloud software program, and we produce the content, the link backs to the website, the graphics. And when I spoke with Dana last week, RFPs are one of the hardest things in the world to do. It's sort of a moving target, but we're anticipating about 3 events a month. I've been looking at your event calendar on the website. You're doing a lot of great things. So with your guidance, I'll learn the priorities, and Mark and I will do the work and the graphics, and we'll roll up the sleeves. The way Wisdom Bridge is run and the people in our network work is we want relationships. We roll the sleeves up and we want to work alongside you to get the job done and get the story out. Because as Patty so wisely challenged us back in 2016, she said we have to go like the Hawaiian surfers. We need to go big or go home. And she was very concerned at the time about townships being eradicated. And if the citizens don't understand what they do, it's very easy to vote them out. Our job together, and hopefully us as your agency, will be to help the taxpayers see the value of township governments, because you do wonderful things. But a lot of people still don't know what a township does. And that's our job, to help you with that. And I really believe that we're qualified to help Maine Township move this communications program forward. So I'll be mindful. I know this is a long evening, and if I can field questions from the board.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, open the floor to questions. Anyone have any questions?
Just in looking at the proposal, I'm just trying to clarify like exactly what is included.
Sure.
So I see, you mentioned press releases, 3 press releases, up to 3 a month, and then you mentioned the event promotion, photo, story pitch, and then under social media, you just mentioned channel management services on a retained monthly basis. So is that in addition to?
It's all included. My writing, the graphics, the photos, the link backs to your website is all going to be, I think in the proposal I put up to 80 posts a month is about what I figure we'll average of what we've been doing at New Trier. They're running somewhere from 80 to 100 posts a month right now. There's a lot going on, and during COVID, it's been the primary method of communication along with the constant contact newsletter. And truthfully, when we answered this RFP, I wasn't 100% sure how to structure it, so I'm basing it on what I know today and what our work has entailed for the last 6 or 7 years.
Okay, so the social media aspect is included in your quote?
Yes,
okay,
we're going to build
good.
the channels for you and manage them and write, and hopefully internal folks will want to contribute. That's something we talked about. I don't want it to be just my voice. I want it to be everyone's voice, and so we're all on the same channel as far as messaging and how we want to present the township. Others, I'm happy to. Yes, please.
You mentioned a podcast. Who does the podcast? Is that the supervisor?
You're talking to them. I'm the interviewer, I'm the producer, I'm the audio editor, content writer, and what I've been doing is interviewing not only township officials, but also the grantee organizations, and where we ask them about their stories, and they share thoughts on how township grant funds help strengthen the community. And those long-form interviews are leveraged into print articles, and then quotes and nuggets from those articles are used in social media posts, so we're able to leverage the content. And to this gentleman's point, video is also emerging. We haven't done as much of it as I would like, but YouTube is definitely something that's valuable, as is Zoom and other platforms that are available. And I think to the assessor's point, yes, you need to kind of do the blocking and tackling. I think if you like football, Lou Holtz, 3 yards and a cloud of dust is the approach we need to take here. We need to build the platforms. We need to begin the work and kind of ground up.
So your podcast is for township in general?
No, it's for
Not
New
specific
Township.
to- Oh, it is?
Yes, it's if you go to SoundCloud or Apple, it's the New Township podcast. And hopefully you'll want to listen to some of the episodes, but some of the stories are very compelling. And you hear straight from these grantees why township funds are changing lives. And it's very powerful. It makes my job easier when I have good material from really smart people.
Are you able to see the hits on that?
Yes, there's a play counter on SoundCloud, and we have what they call an RSS feed called Libsyn, and you're able to get reports of plays on different platforms like Spotify and Amazon and Apple and Deezer and some of the other big podcast providers. So yes, I've been able to give the board reports on playback. And also we get feedback from people who actually write in and comment on the episodes and the articles. And yes, you do get a few angry people every now and then, but for the most part, it's been wonderful feedback.
Generally speaking, how many clicks do you get on the podcast a month, for each one?
It's all over the place. We've had some interviews that are hundreds. The episodes that have done the best are on aging. Aging population, interviews with people from the North Shore Senior Center and other organizations that serve the elderly. But on the opposite, youth has been a wonderfully accepted topic as well. And during COVID, mental health has been a huge topic, and we just did an episode recently with Dr. Scott Mitchell of Samaricare, and he shared a lot of good information and also tips about how people can cope with going back to work after COVID and what this all means from a mental health perspective.
I was going to ask, so the other two proposals, they seem to have a lot of experience with Maine Township, and I'm wondering what, I actually used to teach high school in New Trier. It's a very different community.
Yes, it is.
So what do you know about the Maine Township demographics, and does that affect your strategies?
Interestingly, some of the early assignments in Niles, which is a very diverse township, it's very similar in many ways. Big township, very diverse, many villages within it. I grew up in the city of Chicago, but I lived in Edison Park for years, right on the border in Park Ridge, so I'm familiar with the township. I live in Gulf now. I recently moved here to the Glenview Gulf area last year. And so I think being a lifelong Chicagoan, I'm tuned into the area. And I think that the experience that Mark and I bring to the table will also carry over into the communities here in Maine.
Okay, yeah, because you said you lived in Park Ridge?
No, I lived in Edison Park,
No,
but now I live in Gulf.
But your partner,
Mark Desjardins lives in Park Ridge.
Okay, so
Yeah, he's our graphic design guy. And we have a web designer also in our network, Kurt Silvers, who lives in Forest Park. And then we have a network of videographers, printers, photographers, editors, copywriters. So they're all 1099 people I have an LLC, I am the LLC, everybody is a contractor in my network.
But using any of those services is an additional hourly rate if we would need them.
Sure, yes, if there's other programs or projects that come up, we would then present Dana with a quote to run by the supervisor and go in from whatever the channels.
The graphic designer.
Oh, the graphic designer, yes, the flyers and all that we're talking about is in the proposal. But if there's other ancillary projects, we'd have to give you separate proposals, yeah.
I had a quick question, Jack, on page 5 of your proposal.
Okay.
There's some language I didn't quite click. Can you clarify this for me? The
Sure.
first sentence says, should the client require additional graphic, web design, and a bunch of things. And then the last sentence says, all agreed upon purchases, media buys, printing, or outside services will be billed at our cost plus a 15% administrative fee.
Yes.
So you're not telling us that every single thing you purchase for us, we're going to pay a 15% administrative fee on top of it. You're saying that's for additional services that aren't covered, right?
Yes, correct. If, for example, like newsletter printing and things like that, and if I'm going to the press checks on your behalf, yeah, it's like an agency markup.
I see.
Yeah.
All right, but that's not a lot of your services. We're not going to be paying 15% every time.
Right, no.
That's not considered a lot of
Not
services.
within this, it's more or less standard, language that I include.
Absolutely. So specialties purchases that aren't normally in the contract. You pay it, I guess, up front. We reimburse you plus a 15% administrative fee.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay.
Can you just give us some examples of what those might be?
Yeah, sure. For instance, when we printed materials for the senior center in Markham, where we developed on their new housing center, we did an extensive packet of materials for the would-be residents, and the mayor just wanted to be completely hands-off. He wanted us to handle everything. So, and in those days, some years ago, things weren't quite as fluid as they are now. So it's running the press checks, it's doing all the legwork, and for that, typically an agency is able to charge a commissionable rate for the time spent, and the expertise that we have when we go to a press check.
Okay.
I have a question relating to page 4. It says what the total price is for your consulting engagement. But then above it, about midway through the page, it says the agency's billable hourly rate is 75. So
yes.
I'm wondering what else might we be billed for in addition to the consulting engagement flat rate?
Well, that would be solely up to you, Madam Supervisor. If you say, Dana says, I don't want to do the newsletter anymore, and I want Mark to design it and lay it out and take care of all the Photoshop and all that, that would be a project where we would come back to you with a proposal at that particular hourly rate. You may tell us, for instance, on the slide, we've got a postcard with Chris Kennedy on it. The clerk of New Township wanted to do a mailing to get the public to come to the annual town meeting. He was big into making it a big event in the area. So that would be viewed as like a separate project where we would, handle a mailing for you and go to the post office and do all the things that are associated with it.
What about like the podcast that you mentioned?
Now the podcast was part of my consulting agreement with Nutrier. I didn't put it in here because I think it was out of the scope of the RFP. If it's something you wanted to do, we could definitely, I could share the hours with you, and if you thought it was worthwhile, I would be happy to take that on for you as well. We have all the equipment. I'm getting dangerously good at editing audio, so yes, we would be able to do that for you.
I'm just wondering what else, we might be charged extra for.
Yeah, it's usually if there's things like if you say, you want to do some banners, or you want to do signage, or you want to do direct mail, or anything like that, where it's out of the scope of what we're talking about here, which would be social media, PR, that. Anything out of that scope, we would present you with a separate proposal.
Okay. And just one final note, I haven't had anyone else can ask any other questions I have. The very first page, you say that your proposal was for a period of time that was 14 months. So it was a little over a year.
Yes.
We're looking at. Would that still be the case, this proposal would be for
You know,
a
to me,
14-month period of time?
yeah, I was really kind of not 100% clear on that myself, and now that we're almost through September, I don't know if you want to begin this October 1 through.
I think at the earliest we would.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'd be open to starting on any date you wish and concluding on any date you wish. So we could easily, modify the time since we're through September almost now.
But your proposal would be for a 14-month period of time?
That's what I would like to do. If you tell me you'd like to do less, I would certainly modify it, respect whatever wishes you have.
Okay.
Of course, sure.
Any other questions?
I have one more.
Yes.
Please.
I went back to trustee member, what his paragraph on page 5. It says, should the client require graphic, web design, also professional photography, videography, so you don't do that, that is not within the scope of this contract.
Correct. If you tell me you want to do a half-hour video on the food pantry or something, I have to go to one of my videographers and come back with a separate proposal at their half-day rate for editing and all that. But yeah, we have an extensive network of people available, so we can do essentially any communications work you wish. But with the RFP, I sort of, navigated as best I could and made the best predictions I could of time and
So would you expect that we would be paying for extra videography, photography, graphics, web design?
I will say optimistically, I hope so. I hope that when you see the work and you see the work ethic, that you will want to do more. That is my hope, that is our hope, that we will be able to extend the reach of your communications. Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, one last
I'm
question.
sorry.
How long have you been with Niles and Detroit Townships? You have experience already with these, and North Chicago and Markham as well, right?
Yeah, North Chicago, we began working for them in 2020. Markham was a one-off in like 2016, and New Trier since 2016. And I got assignments from Niles in 2015 and 16.
But you're not currently with Niles?
No, they have an in-house person
Right, that's what I thought.
After Marilyn Blazer left office, Bonnie added an in-house person that's on staff, a set amount of hours, yeah. Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. I would like to do the following. The board needs to vote on choosing which one of these candidates would serve the township needs the best. But the elected officials, of course, are represented by the whatever company we should choose. So I would like to give you an opportunity to first advocate for one company or another if you wish to do so. Just so you can tell the rest of the board what your feelings are, and if you have any preferences. So I just want to give you an opportunity to do that if you would like to do that.
I would just say a couple quick things. A couple times it was mentioned that, you have to kind of get up to speed with the township. One of the things about using Dick Barton and Alex is they are very familiar with the township and what we've done in the past. So it would really be a matter of being able to step in and somewhat hit the ground running. Of course, I know Marty very well as well. Also, fully confident in his ability to do the job. All three presentations, I think, brought interesting ideas. And for once, I'm glad I'm not a voting member of the board because I don't have to make the decision.
Okay, thanks. Ed, Susie, did you want to make any comments? It's up to you.
I would have to say, reiterate what Pete had said about the Bartons. They have given us good press. I mean, I've actually tried to put some press in without them. It hasn't gone well. And I know that they would certainly work in earnest to promote the township. I know Marty also, and then he's got, and his associate have some nice and youthful thoughts and a really wonderful presentation. So I'm encouraged by them too. Now, the third gentleman that presented, now I'm questioning, it seems going in that his price would be reasonable, but then I'm seeing that actually he's going to be hiring a lot of extra people to do what he has to do. And I mean, his presentation is beautiful. You've got people that are working for you to do all this too, and then you're paying them, but we're paying. I think Markham has big pockets, so is New Trier. I don't know how much that this bill would be escalated to. I'm not sure. But I don't know if you are ready to make the ability tonight to make a choice. I think it would be, I have a couple from runners that I like, but of course I'm not voting, so God bless.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to be, it's tough. I'm not going to be much of a help tonight. I mean, I know I've worked with Mr. Barton before. The results are there. His experience is great. Marty and, you know, his partner, his associate, Marty's just, he's got the substance. And I was impressed with Wisdom Bridge, their packet and their examples. But again, it's going to be a tough decision that you guys are going to have to make it. I don't envy you at all. So, thank you.
Okay, all right, fine. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to give each trustee an opportunity to advocate for whichever one of the candidates they'd like to advocate for and explain their reasons for why they would choose one or another. And after that, I will, we can discuss actually voting. But I want to give you a chance to voice your opinions and tell your other board members why you should or should not vote for a particular candidate. All right. Does anyone want to go first? All right. Well, I'm just going to start at the far end. I'm sorry, officer, if you happen to be sitting at the far end. So I'm going to ask you to go first. If you want to make any comments about which one you would like to have the board choose. Or if you have any concerns or whatever.
Are you to make a decision tonight?
Well, you know, we put this off for a lot.
2 or 3 months.
2 or 3 months. You know, we've already
This is the first night that you put out the information in the package.
Yeah, the information's in the packet. Yes, Asa?
My suggestion is, what we can do, all the trustees, we can have a break for 5 minutes, let us discuss, and we can decide on which one we want to go.
We can't discuss the among ourselves.
Can I decide that?
No, can't do that.
Okay.
Can't do that. I mean, you can take a break if you want to use the restroom or something like that.
Oh, okay. So, my suggestion is I go with, Nardi and Robert Tillman. The reason is because I look at other almost as
I'm sorry, there's this blower right over my head, and it's hard to hear. So if you could speak up a little bit, I'm just having a little trouble.
Because when I look at their proposal, so the way they present themselves, their scope of work is very explained. Which one, is a marketing audit, press release, direct mail, social media, and blog, and when I compare with the Wisdom Bridge, there most of the stuff is almost in common, but a lot of stuff they're charging us extra, for like anything you want to do, direct mail, newsletter, you give them the job, so they want to charge you $75 per hour. So which will be most cost to, I think, the Maine Township. And if you look at their rate for the Bronx, and you look at there, almost, they are giving us more stuff, like they are giving us a direct mail, social media, marketing order, press release 2 per month, e-blog letters. And if you want to go with the silver, so they are giving them the 3 videos, which one, I think almost they say 5 minutes in length, direct mail, 4 mails, newsletter. And my concern is, because I just asked the question about, especially about the unincorporated area, and because a lot of people are not aware about our general assistance program. So I can suggest this is the best will be the direct mail newsletter, because most of the people who live in an unincorporated area, they don't understand English, most of them, like from I can talk about only the Asian, Pakistani and Indian. So the best is the direct mail letter in a different language, they can send them. They don't have like some people like internet at home, not everybody have the internet and Wi-Fi, So that's the reason, I am selecting this one, they don't have the company name, but I can say our team, which one Marty and Robert. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Asa, for your reasons that you just gave. Okay, Jim.
Well, my feelings on this, Karen, are personally, I don't think we should make a vote tonight or espouse any one particular candidate at this time. I don't think I've had enough time to think it through. I have read this carefully and considered it. I thought all 3 proposals were outstanding, and but if I'm forced to give an opinion, I guess I will. I thought all 3 proposals were outstanding. I have no doubt that any one of these groups of gentlemen would do a great job. My expertise is in litigation and not in marketing. Don't know anything about marketing, advertising. I'm clueless when it comes to that, so my opinion is for what it's worth. I have a sentimental weakness for father and son teams. The Bartons, they're a father and son team. I can't help but admire that. I've never been able to work with in a father and son relationship. My father was a lawyer, grandfather was a lawyer. I've never worked with them at all. And I think that's great that a father and son team that also has experience with the township. Just because people don't have experience doesn't mean they wouldn't do a fine job. Marty McAlpin, I know his work ethic is magnificent. I have no doubt that Marty would do a great job as well. And I think his partner is equally a hard-working gentleman. And I would have no problem selecting them as well, even though they don't have experience doing this. And the problem I have, though, if I'm forced to make a decision, is the 3rd candidate, Mr. Bridge, does have experience doing exactly what we are asking them to do. I was satisfied with their answer as to billing. I think it's going to be unusual when they charge extra. I was very concerned about that provision where the 15% administrative charge every time we purchase something, but they're the middleman. But I think that's going to be the rare occasion. So I thought Mr. McCall explained that satisfactorily. The problem I have is that this is the very first time we've entered into such a contract as a township, as far as I know. This is the first time that proposal has ever been made to enter into a contract like this. And accordingly, I think we must defer to experience with a company that has experience doing this very thing that we're asking for them to do. And unfortunately, that's the difference maker in this situation. If I had to vote, I would be inclined to vote for either, although all 3 are outstanding, I would have to pick Wisdom Ridge as my selection if I'm forced to do it.
Okay, all right. Kelly?
Yeah, I appreciated all the proposals and all the presentations. There were things I liked about everybody. I want to sort of pick and choose. When I first got the proposals, that was sort of my first introduction to all 3 companies. And just based on the proposals alone, I sort of took Barton off the table simply because the proposal, it just listed an amount and it didn't list anything that was included in that. But when he came up, he sort of talked about some of his things, but I still felt like it was fairly vague. I don't feel like I know what we're getting. As far as Wisdom Bridge, it was a little vague to me, but I think in talking to him, I understood it a little bit better. I was concerned about the you know, are there going to be a lot of like hidden costs that we would be getting? With McAlpin and Flynn, I felt like everything was sort of outlined very specifically, which for me was helpful. I sort of almost wanted that from everybody, just a list, you know, of bullet points of what's included with the amount. Based on what my sort of goals were when I came into this position and wanting to reach the communities that are underserved and wanting to, you know, do something a little more progressive with, you know, how we're reaching them. The proposal by McAlpin and Flynn to me kind of speaks to me more. I love the idea of video. No one else really had that in there. I like the blog idea. I like an e-newsletter. You know, the social media thing for me is a big part of it. You know, that's where I'm getting information from, you know, the city that I live in, from other organizations. So, you know, that is important. So that is the proposal that I think I would go with. My only concern was that the cost was a little bit higher, but in looking at like the silver tier, for example, everything on there is what I would want, with the exception of the direct mail newsletter, because Dana's going to do that. So if that's something that we could pull off and then would bring that cost down, to me that would be sort of ideal. So that would be my pick.
Okay, thank you. Kim?
So I'm with Kelly, listening to all three presentations. They were all great. And I liked certain things from each one. I liked the idea of a podcast. I love the video, the YouTube, which I think is great because you can spend all day on YouTube and Instagram. Just kind of while the day away if you had time to do it. And I know Dick and Alex and worked with them for a long time, not just within the township, but I knew them before. And I've always been pleased with the way they've done, represented the township and done great things with the township. And so I don't know, this is a really hard decision. And I do agree with Kelly that I like the structure of the contract that Marty and Robert did. And I guess we would have to talk about which tier, if that was the selection. And I know that Supervisor Diamond had asked specifically if the price would come down if we took the newsletter out. And I don't know if you didn't understand the question, but I'm not sure if to me you didn't really answer the question because I wasn't sure if you were trying to say if you take the newsletter out, the direct mail newsletter out, that the price would come down, or you would be adding additional services to replace that, and then the price would remain the same. So maybe I just misunderstood. I wasn't clear on it. I also like the e-newsletter a lot, where you can translate to different languages, like in our communities, Asif was saying, Polish, the predominant languages, Indian, Pakistani languages. So those things are really appealing, but I don't know, it's a really hard decision.
Karen? So,
Quick comment. The one thing about Wisdom Bridge is, I think I do beautiful work. I sort of feel like it's buying a house. And you see the model home, and you're like, oh yeah, I want that. And you'll say, I love that counter. And you're like, yeah, that's an upgrade. And so I'm not really sure how much it would cost us in the end. Because it is beautiful, and again, oh, I want that. Oh, that's more. So I'm not really exactly sure where the pricing would end up after the 14 months. So maybe I just didn't understand the way it was. Those are my those are my observations.
Did you have a response to
Yeah.
a question that
Well-
was voiced just now? I don't want to influence
No,
Kim's decision. I just.
No, I'll speak after. I'll speak after.
All right, so Kim, what was your vote? Was it McAlpin, is that what you said? Or, I don't want to put words into your mouth, but I think that's what you said first.
I didn't commit to one.
I thought we were forced to commit to one.
I thought this was just a conversation on where we were leaning, but I haven't actually made a vote. Those were my observations and feelings. I guess, there was, I think the Marty's, presentation was a little stronger than the Barton one, but I have experience with Dick and Alex, and they've always done a great job, so, no, I haven't decided yet.
Did you have a clarifying point or something,
I
Dana?
think I just want to make sure that, I feel like the end of Wisdom Bridge, he kind of mentioned that a lot of things were extra. However, I think all three proposers did put in the proposals just what was asked for in the RFP. So anything that Mr. McCall said was extra would be things, I think that would be extra with anyone. And they really are things that we may not be using. And some of the things that he mentioned, I'm already doing with our graphic designer, Fred Uter. So I think, again, he did respond to what I had put in the RFP, and his yearly cost, I believe he quoted it at $25,900.
Yeah, but he also said that he had to hire, but you also said that you had to hire other people to do those jobs, and then there would be additional costs. Like with Dick and Marty, they wouldn't be hiring a videographer because they'd be doing that on their own. And so that's where the cost would, that's where I think the cost overruns, if there were some, would be, or where we might be limited in expressing our messaging, because, we might decide we want to do podcasts. Okay, well, how much more is that going to be?
Right.
And then we don't have an unlimited budget, I'm assuming.
We don't.
When you have to outsource something and then add another additional 15%, and we don't really know what those things might be that we decide on, and I think it's just more murky as far as pricing.
Right, I understand what you're saying. The only thing is with Mr. McCall, he does have a graphic designer that is included in the price. I don't know that the other two do, and also Mr. McCall, I believe it's 5,000 lower than the lower tier with the other firms. Might be wrong, but
They're the same.
so the lowest tier, I think, with
2,500
Marty and Roberts, I think the yearly fee would be 30,000.
I mean, I think we're looking at an amount. Obviously, we want to, not have a crazy budget, but I think we also have to look at what is our return on investment and what are we getting. And so I think we each probably have different goals of what we're thinking of and looking for, out of this. And so I think ultimately, we need to think about which company, because it sounds like all of them have the ability to they're talking about this sort of negotiating, things. I think we ultimately need to decide which company is going to do what we want the most. And then from there, hopefully, we can sit down with them and really sort of, get, I want a list of, for me, that's very helpful to sort of understand exactly what's included and exactly what they're going to be doing for us. So
The lowest tier was 2,500.
But I think the yearly fee would be 30,000. Times that times 12, I think is 30,000.
Okay, that's the same as Barton's.
Right, but Wisdom Bridge is 25.
Yeah, but it's not really 25, because we don't really know what we're getting for that, and there are going to be extras, and there's going to be an extra fee.
Well, I also feel like we're getting, they're two different things. I mean, one is offering video and, different services, so I mean, it's not, to some extent, we're not really comparing apples to apples a little bit, So I think each presentation had something different, that they sort of brought to the table, and I think, we need to each look at which one do we think is going to speak to our needs best. So, I mean, for me, I have my choice, and, everybody else has their own choice, so I think, that's what we have to decide.
All right, fine.
Could I just ask one question real quick?
Yeah.
So if there can be any negotiation on price, and we make a vote tonight to decide on that, or how can we negotiate on price after we make a vote to decide on it?
Well, I mean, I suppose if we find that we really don't negotiate a price that's acceptable to us, we can start over again. So we could do that. I think what we're doing now is selecting the firm that we think can provide the best service, and then we'll negotiate a price if we find that it's acceptable. I mean, it is that we could come back to the table if we find that we're not able to come up with a contract that actually serves our needs in terms of what we're getting and the amount we're paying.
I did have one question.
Who's this for? The question?
Marty and Robert.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Yeah, because Robert's a lobbyist and Marty, has another full-time job. So this is kind of an upshoot business, and there's no doubt in my mind you guys can do a great job, but it's not a full-time job, right? I mean, so how much time realistically could you really dedicate to this?
Is this more presentation time, or is this an opinion? I thought we were all asked to give our opinions, and now we're going back to, we're all going to have a chance to speak.
I know. Kim did have one question.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, I'm just saying.
Well, if I understand your question is you're concerned that we're over-promising in this proposal and that we won't have the time to do it?
But I'm not concerned, I'm just wondering, if we're the only, I'm assuming you want to build your business and build upon this if you were to get this position, but you also have full-time jobs. And so how would that work?
Well, my work with LifeWorks is on a completely flexible, deadline-driven schedule. So I have meetings sometimes, but I'm not punching a time card. I don't have to be at a physical location. So it would be the same as any other firm. They have other clients. They're able to meet deadlines and kind of work around their availability. And I think the strength in Marty and I together is we are two people. So inevitably there's going to be times when one of us are out of town, but we'll always be able to make sure events are covered, board meetings are covered. That's a strength of having two people in a proposal.
I mean, I would assume that with any of the companies, I mean, we're not going to be their sole client, so they all have jobs essentially. So I mean, I think they're all going to, they've all established that they're going to make the time for us. So
I thought we might be the sole client for one of the gentlemen. Said we might be their sole client. So I disagree with that.
Sole governmental.
Apartments, right? That we were,
Right,
they are
so-
sole client. That's what they said. Right?
So it's my turn.
Okay.
Yes.
So, I, again, thought all the proposals were very good, very interesting, and I like them all, but I have narrowed it down in my mind to two, based on the written materials. I like McAlpin and Flynn, and also Wisdom Bridge, based on the materials that I see. Now, I didn't know the Bartons, I didn't work with them because I wasn't on the board in the past, but based on the written materials, from what I've heard tonight, those would be my top two candidates. So what that means is that all the opinions expressed here, I hear a couple of votes for McAlpin and Flynn, and possibly a couple of votes maybe for Wisdom Bridge, and then I haven't heard any commitment from you. So it does sound like at this point it's between Wisdom Bridge and McAlpin and Flynn in terms of getting the necessary votes. So therefore, what I'd like to hear is either a motion to select McAlpin and Flynn, or a motion to select Wisdom Bridge. And it stands to reason if we don't choose one, that we are in fact choosing the other. And we have to take another vote to do that. But sounds like those are the two entities which now stand a chance of getting 3 votes, a majority of the board. Okay, so, does someone want to make a motion?
I will make a motion to select McAlpin and Flynn for the PR marketing consultant position.
All right, there is a motion. Is there a second?
I second it.
Okay, so we have a second. I trust there's no further discussion? Okay. All right. So I'm going to ask you to call a roll call. I'm going to ask you to call me last.
Okay.
No, actually, do I want that?
Certainly, I'll call you last. We'll start with Trustee Horvath.
Yes.
Trustee Maher?
I would abstain or ask to vote last, since I did not want to take this.
Trustee Malik?
Yes.
Trustee Jones?
Yes.
Supervisor Dunn?
We have 3 yeses so far.
Correct.
Right? Then I'll say yes.
The motion passes.
Okay, all right. Thank you all. I appreciate the extensive work and presentations you each made on your written materials and in the presentations that you made this evening. I know you all devoted a lot of time to this, and I appreciate your professionalism and your interest in working for our township. Thank you again, and I think that concludes this matter for now. Just in terms of what we have in front of us tonight, this is the entity that we're going to go forward with in terms of trying to negotiate a contract. As Ed said, if we're not able to come to an agreement, we might be back here again.
I think
That's where we are right now.
Really is impressive.
Okay, all right. Thanks, everyone. All right, let's move on to the next item, which hopefully will not take quite so long. Okay, all right. So the next thing on our agenda is a discussion and vote on an employee vaccine mandate. Now, this matter was brought to my attention mid-month when I learned that a number of other government entities were passing policies similar to this one. The federal government has one that's a little different, the state has one, the county has one, other townships have one, but by no means do all government bodies have this. So I have this on the agenda for discussion and a possible vote tonight. Does anyone want to make a motion to get this on the table? And then we can either vote it up or down.
Motion to discuss a possible vote on the mandatory COVID-19 vaccination policy.
Oh, okay, but I guess what I need is a motion to approve it or a motion to reject it, if you want to make such a motion. If you don't, you don't have to, but that's up to you.
Okay, so you want a motion to approve, even though it says discussion and vote? Okay.
Well, it says discussion.
Okay, all right, motion to approve.
If you don't want, if you're not
It won't bind you, you can still vote however you
Yeah.
like.
All right, motion to approve employee vaccine mandate.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All right, so we have this on the table. We have a motion, and I want to give everyone an opportunity to discuss it. Anyone want to make a comment about this? Jim's raising his hand.
Yeah, thanks. I'll go first or last, whatever you want. I'm having this a lot of discussion.
Jim, why don't you just speak?
I have great many problems with this resolution, and I'm going to be voting no for many reasons. It's completely unclear to me that this directive even applies to us. I read carefully Governor Pritzker's orders. There's 2 of them, one on September 3rd and one in August, and it clearly limits this order to healthcare facilities and people who provide healthcare services. I think a very reasonable argument can be made that our employees are not providing this type of a service, or that most of them are not, and that the intent of this order doesn't really apply, to us. Governor Pritzker has the right to enter whatever executive.
I was just going to say, this is not dependent upon the governor's order. This particular motion is just whether or not we want to impose it. This is not dependent upon whether or not the governor has ordered it be imposed or not. Governor's order went to healthcare workers. This would go to our entire staff. So I don't want to cut you off, but I just want to clarify, this is not dependent on any governor's order one way or the other. This would be something that we would be electing to do or not electing to do.
Okay, but the reason why we're even considering doing it is because your letter said that this is something that has been ordered.
No. The governor's order went to healthcare providers, healthcare personnel.
Right. And we've already made apparently the decision that some of our employees are covered by this already, right?
Not by this, but by the governor's order.
That's what I'm talking about, the governor's executive order.
I think maybe what Jim's talking about is in the letter that we had received it, where it talks about his executive order, provides that all healthcare workers that are employed by a facility must be vaccinated according to our healthcare attorney. This would include Maine Township offices. I think that's maybe what you're talking about.
That was related to a subset of our employees, a small group of our employees. This policy would go to all of the employees. And again, it's optional. We're not required by the governor to adopt this policy, nor are we prohibited from adopting it. It's something that is optional at this point in time. I mean, I suppose at some time it might not be optional. Some like corporations over 100 employees have to have such a policy, but in terms of where we stand, it's optional.
I'm in support of it. So
Okay. Did you want to talk about why you're in support? Or
yeah, I mean, I think that as long as there is, again, no one is being forced to get a vaccine. We're not, bringing doctors in and, inoculating people against their will. There are, requirements, but there are accommodations for people that can't, whether it's through a religious, deeply held belief, or it's from, a medical exemption. I mean, I think as long as those, that is in there for people, I think that it does give people the freedom to sort of make their own choice. And I think, we're not talking about, this is a health crisis that is, affected the whole world. And I think that we're asking people to, be considerate of each other and to, take everyone's safety, seriously. And I think that, no one is being forced to get a vaccine, but, if they're going to be around the community, then they just have to, provide that they have been tested and are okay. I mean, my kids have to have vaccine requirements to go to public school. They have to have a chickenpox vaccine, and they have to have, a whole list of vaccines. But there are those exceptions to families, religious or medical exemptions, but, we don't really question that. My husband, who's a teacher, has to follow this same policy as well. Niles Township just voted to require it for all their staff, but also for all the elected officials too, as well as the contracted people. I mean, personally, I would be okay with it being for elected officials as well. If we, if we're expecting everybody else to follow this, we should follow it as well. That's just my opinion. So I know others will disagree, but I guess as long as there is provisions in there that allow people the freedom to sort of, choose what's best for them, we're just asking that if they come to work, that they are healthy. And I don't see that as being bad for them.
Well, I agree. We want people to be healthy, and if they want to get vaccinated, they should get vaccinated. But the problems I have with this are, there's a couple of them. It doesn't provide any provision for people who've already recovered from COVID and have national immunity, which is robust, durable, and complete against all variants. And so I don't see why, somebody who's already recovered and has national immunity would need to get vaccinated or provide a reason why they're not. The other issue I have a couple. There's so many lawsuits right now pending in courts. We saw 175 healthcare workers get fired today in South Carolina, and police officers walking off the job. And this is happening all over the country. But that being said, I think this is something that will need to go through the courts, and I'm not sure we should commit to it, but that's not really my main point tonight. Yes, there are medical exemptions and religious exemptions, but who makes the ultimate decision? Because I have relatives who had legitimate medical exemptions and they were denied and still, required to get the vaccine or lose their job. And I would not want to see any of our employees be put in that position. If they're sick, they should stay home and stay healthy. And everybody should stay healthy and everybody should be considerate. I agree. But the other thing is, it requires people who are unvaccinated to get a COVID test every week. And what we're discovering now is people who are doubly vaccinated also get COVID. And they're also contagious. And they also get hospitalized. And so why are we only requiring unvaccinated people to get COVID tests weekly when anybody can get COVID and also be contagious? Why wouldn't we just, instead of doing a mandate, why wouldn't we just require everybody to get a COVID test weekly? Because it seems like it's almost somewhat discriminatory. And there's not really a logical reason for it, knowing now that people who are double vaccinated can also make you sick. So those are the issues I have right now.
All right. Other comments?
But you had mentioned about...
Okay, Kelly, if I can just let other people,
Okay,
I'll come back to you, but
that's okay.
Let's have people maybe who haven't had a chance. And I'm turning to the elected officials, if you want to jump in here too, please do so. But you don't have to. All right. Yes. But did I hear anything from Jim or Asa?
Dan's done. Okay. So I agree with Kim. You cannot force anybody to have the vaccine, and I don't want anybody to lose the job because of that he's not vaccinated. So this PCR test, which one return time is, I think 24 to 48 hours. Let's say I'm exempt and I don't want to have the vaccine. I want to go for the PCR test. I have to go on Saturday, and in case if I don't receive on Monday, I cannot come to work. So same thing, I work for clerk of circuit court and district 4 mayor, where last week the person who got COVID, he was vaccinated. So my opinion is we have to review this, and even another, the point, there's no deadline for when they have the first dose, when they have the second dose. And I don't see, I have the policy with me, for the Cook County, which one is by the Tony Provincial president of the Cook County. And then they don't say their policy, that anybody who don't follow this policy and they will be fired from the job. So I would disagree on this point, which one says general provision A. So that's my point.
Okay. All right. Anyone else? Jim? Did you want to say something, or should I return to it?
Well, as I was saying earlier, Karen, the memo that was given to us says that this governor's order requires our people to be vaccinated. A reasonable argument can be made that the order doesn't apply to our employees at all. It's just, that argument can't be made. I see this as a rash decision that would expose us to potential lawsuits, and may have already done so by employees who feel like if they've been disciplined or fired as a result of this decision we made, have now the right to sue us potentially. So I think that it's, and there's, as I also agree with what Kim has said about these inconsistencies and the 1 week testing, which is punitive, and a number of other things that make it inconsistent, the policy internally inconsistent. And so, and as I said, the reason why we thought about this was because of COVID-related developments that mandate this. I thought that's because of the order that was entered by the governor that it involves. That's what I thought this even came up. But anyway, I voiced the same concerns that Kim has and that nobody, and that Steve has, that this is problematic and it causes problems and we should not be adopting this policy.
I just want to add, I sort of view the testing between COVID, like fully vaccinated and non-vaccinated, as the mask. You know, originally they said you don't have to wear a mask if you're fully vaccinated. And then it went back to, well, when they decided that you still can be contagious, you can still be hospitalized, blah, blah, blah. Then it said, well, now everybody has to wear a mask indoors. And I sort of feel like testing everybody on a whole, if we decide to test people, would be more consistent with that policy than requiring people to get vaccinated, especially if they've already recovered from COVID and they have natural antibodies.
And Kelly, I think you raised your hand up before too.
Oh, I was just gonna, you know, Kim had mentioned the point, like it didn't mention people who had recovered from COVID, and I have seen, not in this language, but in like language from other places where, you know, if you've had COVID within 90 days, you don't have to, like you're considered, you know, immune, whatever. But so for that 90 days, you sort of have a high antibody load, and you wouldn't have to follow those same procedures. So I don't know. I mean, listening to everybody, I have sort of how I feel, but I do think people raise good points. You know, I don't know. It's just a tough call because I think it's become a very politicized, you know, topic. But you know, I think ultimately, you know, I'm thinking about me and my family, and you know, keeping my kids, who you know, my daughter can't be vaccinated, safe, and you know, I guess I think about the safety of everybody who works here, and you know, making sure that they're not bringing home something to their kids who can't be vaccinated, and I don't know, I don't know what the right thing to do is.
Yeah, but vaccinating everybody won't necessarily prevent it.
People are free to do that if they want to.
Right, but I mean, this is not forcing anybody to do that.
Yeah, right.
But I, you know, I do understand your point about the inconsistencies of the, you know, the testing, and I think the problem now with the PCR testing is that there's the timelines for those have become so crazy that, you know, sometimes you're getting results in 2 days, sometimes you're getting results in 5 to 7 days, you know, and that is going to affect people.
Yeah, and it's being discontinued after December 31st.
Yeah, so, yeah, I you know, I don't know.
Okay, so just to express my opinion, I would be in favor of this policy. I just want to do everything to keep our staff as safe as we can, and there are exceptions in it. You know, I've talked with a number of employees who are in support of it. I can't say that I've done an exhaustive survey though, but people I did talk to were in favor of the policy. But I think we've talked about this now, and unless there's any other comments, I'm going to call for a vote. Now remember that what's on the table right now is to approve the policy. So,
Supervisor Dunn?
yes?
Trustee Jones?
No.
Trustee Horvath?
Yes.
Trustee Maher?
No.
Trustee Malik?
No.
All right, so that resolution fails, and we'll move on to our next item. There is one more item, and I know it's getting late, but I'm going to ask you not to run out right away. We do have a few announcements after that too, so if you would just hang on for a little bit after that. Okay, so the next matter is a resolution regarding settling some outstanding litigation. Do I have a motion to adopt and pass this resolution?
I'll make a motion to adopt and pass the resolution authorizing the settlement.
Second.
Okay, and there's a second. I don't imagine there's any questions on this. It's something that's been talked about quite a bit in the past. So I'm going to ask for a roll call.
Supervisor Dunn?
Yes?
Trustee Jones?
Yes.
Trustee Horvath?
Yes.
Trustee Maher?
Yes.
Trustee Malik?
Yes.
Okay, all right, that passes, so that's taken care of. And the announcements, okay, I'm going to try and be quick. First of all, Open Meetings Act. Still don't have to take that test. Website is still down. I say the same thing every month. We are looking into providing here at the township on a voluntary basis flu shots, COVID shots, and COVID booster shots. But we don't have a date for that, but that's something that we are looking into. Remember that we have a lot of meetings coming up this month for the grant reviews. And Rich, let's see, what are our dates for that? Do you know what they are on the top of your head by any chance? October 5th, is that our first one?
The first one's October 5th, that's 6.
October 5th.
And then October 20th at 6:30.
All right.
And then November 2nd at 6:30 as well.
Okay, all right. Now, as you know, I hope you got it. I sent out to you the statutory criteria for selecting who should receive or which, what type of entity should receive our support. And I sent that out in an email, and I hope you still have it. It's the statutory excerpt regarding that. If you don't have that, please let me know. Also, at your place tonight, I gave you a copy of a letter which I've written to President Preckwinkle about us getting ARPA funds. So there's no action needed on your behalf, just presenting that for your information. And let's see what else I got here. Another thing that we didn't hear about, but which we're still pursuing, is the cyber audit. Rich, I think you are working on an RFP regarding that, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, so maybe we'll see that next month. Oh, just backtracking a minute for the grant. So we've budgeted a total of $440,000 for grant recipients total. So, if you're coming up with dollar amounts in your head as to what you would like to see the grants be, it shouldn't add up to more than that. Let's see. We had a shredding event last week. And thank you for everyone who participated in that. Doreen, I know you were out there. Mike, I think you were. Who else? I'm not sure. Jessica, too. Jessica.
And Trustee Maher.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted to say, Karen, that could not possibly have been organized better. I was so impressed. The truck was full completely, and Doreen and Mike and Jessica worked nonstop for 3 hours. It was one of the most efficient things I think I've ever seen. Not one person was turned away, Karen, and it was nonstop for 3 full hours.
That's
so
terrific. I'm
very
very glad
so I
you
want to
have to.
congratulate everyone who was involved in that.
Yes, my mom says thank you.
Outstanding.
Okay, all right. Then I think I just have one more thing, and I will turn it over to other people to make any announcements they might have. The other matter I have is that Kim Biederman is now the executive director of the Niles Chamber of Commerce. And she wanted to know whether or not we would like to meet with them on Zoom with members of the chamber, a meet your elected officials session. Apparently the chamber did this with the Niles elected officials. So, and it would be just to introduce ourselves, give them our goals, any changes we anticipate, and so forth. Is that something you'd like to do? And if so, what time? See, they're asking for morning, but I said, I don't think that's going to work very well for most of our trustees. I presume evening is best? Or any mornings in particular? How about November 11th? Some of us have that as a vacation day.
November 11th? Yeah, that's
Veterans Day.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Jim, Asif, do you have any comments on when?
I just wanted, I think we should publicly commend Dee Phillips
this magnificent
Oh,
letter.
yes,
And
yeah.
Susan for her supervising this lady.
Oh,
This is
yes.
one of the best recommendations I've ever heard from a citizen. So, this one says that don't allow a person to complete a sentence. How many times does that happen to you when you're on the phone with someone, they won't even let you speak, they want to give you their speech, but this letter was exemplary, so T. Phillips, congratulations.
Thank you, trustee. I get a lot of letters for a lot of people in my department.
Yeah, this is great.
Outstanding.
From people saying how much we appreciate it.
Okay, great. Jim, I was asking you about, were you available on evenings or mornings to meet with the chamber, or did you want to?
Oh, it's okay with me, it's okay with everybody else. Evenings, I guess, would be better. Karen, I don't have my calendar in front of me, so.
Sure. Okay. Well,
But it's
I'll tell her
necessary.
that much and we'll
I'll go with the
try.
flow.
Okay. Okay, I believe that's it for my announcements, so I will allow anyone else any of the other officials who want to make any announcements can do so at this time.
I just wanted to say to all the department heads that, if there's any left here still, that I do really appreciate their board reports that they put in. I know the public doesn't really get to see those unless they go through the board packets, but I don't know, it's been good for me to kind of, there's every month I see things that I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that we did that. And I do like the, sort of the featured stories. Like I really liked the one for Maine State Youth that was in this month for the featured story, and I just think that it's very helpful for us, and I really appreciate the work that you guys do. So I want you to know that those board group packets that you give out, the information is really helpful, and I appreciate that stuff.
Thank you, Don. Awesome.
I just want to thank again the board, because I missed the meeting last month. And I want to thank to the board and the employer for the Pakistan and the India Culture Day sport. And I hope this will be continue for the next year. And I have one suggestion, so for the, another I thank to the Karen and Doreen for the, we have the partnership with the Black Men United and Care and Care for the food distribution on the August 28th. And I think Doreen was there, Mary was there, Mike was there, everybody, they show up as So I thanks to them for their help, for their food distribution on August 28th. And I have a suggestion for, we should have an employee survey for quarterly, for the office. And also I want to suggest, we should have I can say suggestion box or complaint box. So that employee can suggest to improve our office, and the customer can suggest for the more customer service, or if they have any complaint, so they can put in that box, the suggestion box or the complaint box. And it goes directly to the supervisor, and supervisor can see, what's the problem with this matter, who complained, and then you can contact the person, and resolve the issue.
Yeah, as you mentioned that before, would you be interested in looking for such a box? Would you be interested in seeing if you could find something like what you're talking about?
I can provide you the box with the key and the lock. I have no problem. Yeah, and I can hand over you the key next meeting if you like it.
That's great, that was your idea.
And yeah, and you can say a suggestion box, and I will give you the key in the board meeting.
Complaints, compliments,
Yeah, that's a suggestion, And the same thing just now you say about the vaccination, that says the employee survey about the vaccination, that people should have it. The same should be, we should have a quarterly survey from the employee, so they can maybe suggest you to more improve our office, like, I don't want to more comment about the pantry, the food pantry. If you look at the food pantry, it looks to me, sorry to say, like a warehouse. It should be properly the thing put in the, and it should be, we don't know how much material is there, which one is already expired, nobody knows. It should be at the list.
Yeah, I think they're actually they go through it and
yeah, okay, but anyway, if I compare with, I can say the other township pantry and our pantry, so we should need to improve our pantry,
All right, and also, I was going to ask you one other thing. Are you going to write a column for the newsletter this month, perhaps talking about the Indian and Pakistani Festival? Usually, one trustee will do that every quarter.
Sure, I will do it, but the deadline is.
But if the deadline is the
Can I do it by
first.
Friday?
I did mention this to you before.
I will call you.
I don't think it doesn't have to be that long, I don't think.
Oh, okay.
It's just
I will try to send you by Friday or the latest by Monday.
Okay, that's actually fine, only 250 words, so it's short.
250 words?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not that long.
Okay.
Is that going to be possible then? Okay, great. And Kelly, speaking of the food pantry, we can look at perhaps doing some posters for it to make a little bit more attractive or something like that. You couldn't have that, you went to visit it, didn't you?
I didn't get a chance to,
Oh.
but I was planning. What about
Carolyn, I think it's food pantry, Tuesday and Friday.
Tuesday, Friday, 10 to 1.
10 to 1.
Okay, I just wanted to say a few things.
Go ahead.
Unless you want to.
No.
I was able to attend the fall event for Maine Streamers with the, not the Ramones. Well, anyway, the German band, they were wonderful.
They were great.
They were great.
Oh, do you have a picture of you?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll have to get the picture in the newsletter
And,
of the outfits.
And also the Dancing Queen event, and also the gentleman that did the Las Vegas performance. I mean, it's just fantastic to sit outside and listen to music, and the seniors love it. Our staff does such a great job of engaging everybody and getting the seniors out, and I really enjoy it also. And I meant to go to the shred event, but I had a commitment that I had to do, so I couldn't make it. But I'm sorry I missed it. I've been there every year, I think. And then I just want to say, we had a heavy lift tonight on this agenda. There were some difficult decisions, and we did such a great job. I want to compliment the board in working together and respecting each other's opinions and really getting a lot done. So thank you, Supervisor, and the rest of the board for really working together. I really appreciate it, coming from the last board, and I'm sure Pete and Susie do as well.
Amen.
So this is really, it was a wonderful example of how a governmental board should work. You know, we don't have to agree on everything, but we respectfully offered our opinions, and we came to some really good decisions tonight. And then finally, I just want to say, flu season is coming up, and please, if you don't feel well, stay home. Don't come to work, because we all want to enjoy our job, and we want to enjoy the people around us that we work with, but we want to do it in a healthy way. So please, if you don't feel good, stay home. And thank you so much.
I forgot to congratulate Marty and Robert, the big victory. So
Yeah,
congratulations, gentlemen.
Thank you.
I know you do a great job.
Working with you. All right, anything else? No, and in conclusion, I want to echo what Kim has said. There really were some tough decisions to make tonight. But I appreciate that everyone has voiced their opinion, but done it in a very respectful way. And I know it's taken a lot of time, and I know you probably just wanted to go home like 2 hours ago. But I think everyone on the board really gave their full attention and consideration to these important issues. So thank you very much. Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn? Unless there's anything else anyone else wants to say?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, roll call please.
Supervisor Benton?
Yes.
Trustee Jones?
Yes.
Trustee Horvath?
Yes.
Trustee Maher?
Yes.
Trustee Louis?
Yes.
Thank you very much.